to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Trish.
Mrs. Brew?
Here.
Mr. Kramer? Mr. Menegini? Mr. Marraro?
Here.
Mrs. Steigerwald?
I motion that we excuse Mr. Mangini and Mr. Kramer.
Do I need that in two different ones or?
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mrs. Steigerwald? Yes. Mrs. Brew?
Yes. We're going to move on to the approval of the agenda, but there is some changes to the agenda. We are going to remove item number 6, Resolution 2025-08, fiscal year 2025-26, operating and capital improvements budget, and that's going to be put on to the next meeting. And with that change.
Do you want to remove?
What? No. What?
If we're not going to be approving, if we're just doing holding the public hearing and not doing the resolutions for approval, the
Yeah.
items 6 through 10.
We have to.
Oh, 6
yeah.
through 10, I'm sorry.
No, oh, we can. Yeah, take them off.
Sorry about that. Okay, with them changes, so 6 through 10.
You need a motion, Ken?
Yes, please.
So I motion that item 3, energy waste reduction plan, electric department. Item 6, resolution 2025-8. Item 7, resolution 2025-09. Resolution, item 8, resolution 2025-10. Item 9, resolution 2025-11. And item 10, resolution 2025-12 be removed from this agenda and added to the next.
I support.
Mrs. Steigerwald?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
All right, and
That was
before
hard.
we go on to the approval of the minutes of the closed session of May 5th, 2025, I do have 2 changes. Under also presented, I will like to add Grant Carlson to that. And then also under collective bargaining, who says was there, I also want to add Grant to that. And with them changes, do I have a motion?
I didn't get the second.
I motion we approve the regular, or
No, close.
the minutes of the closed session dated Wednesday, May 21st,
May 5th.
5th. Well, that's way back, Ant. You're testing me. With the addition that Mr. Carlson was present at that closed session.
I support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mrs. Steigerwald?
Yes.
Move on to approval of manifest 2025-11. Oh, I'm sorry. Minutes of the regular meeting of May 21st, 2025.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting of May 21st, 2025 as presented.
Support.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Mrs. Steigerwald?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. Approval of manifest 2025-11. Ricky, did you have any questions on that?
No, I did not.
Jeff?
I do not, Madam Mayor.
And I have none. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve manifest 2025-11 in the amount of $356,936.12.
Support.
Mrs. Steigerwald?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Marraro?
Yes.
Move on to public comment. Anyone in attendance wishing to address the council on any item of interest shall do so now at the podium. State your name and address for the record. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes. And then we also have on any agenda item. Okay, we'll move on to action items. Item number 1, Downtown Development Authority appointment.
Apologize, everybody, my voice seems to be leaving me. The DDA has a recommendation to appoint Jacob Miller to the Downtown Development Authority, and it does require council's approval.
Do I have any questions? If not, do I have a motion?
Yeah, I move that we appoint Jacob Miller for a term starting June 2025 through 12/2025 to the DDA.
I support.
Mrs. Brew,
Yes?
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
Mrs. Steigerwald?
Yes.
And somebody will contact them from the office to let him know when the meetings are?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go on to item number 2, Dickinson Area Economic Development Alliance, presentation from Mindy Myers. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Mindy Myers, and I am the Executive Director for the Dickinson Area Economic Development Alliance. I stepped into the position about a year ago when Lois Ellis retired, and our organization's been around for 8 years now. So thank you so much for making room on your agenda for me to attend today, just to introduce myself and kind of share what we've been working on in the last year during that leadership transition. At the Alliance, we work to make the Dickinson area a robust community to do business, live, and work. And we do this by bringing together business, government, education, and community organizations to stimulate the economy. We are investor funded, and we are very thankful for your contribution that you give us yearly. We're funded about 80% from the private sector, from the industry within Dickinson County, and about 20% from the municipalities, the county, and the education, the high schools in the area. We're made up of 19 board members, and we have 4 task force units. And those task force units are made up of community volunteers. We have a housing and infrastructure task force, a government relations task force, small business retention and growth task force, and a talent and education task force. So within those groups, we work with local leaders. With Talent and Ed, we work with all of the Dickinson area high schools, including Florence and Niagara, to have multiple touch points with the students on the industry and the jobs that we have available here within the Dickinson area. We are unique in that we do have a large manufacturing industry here, and we know that those employers need employees to fill those jobs. So we have been working on a CTE magazine to share with the schools and the students and the parents, just to introduce the classes at Bay College and at the DIISD Tech Center, where students can prepare to possibly take some of those jobs. With government relations, we work to have relationships with all of our local elected officials, state elected officials, and federal elected officials, having open dialogue on what's happening here within the county, sharing our concerns, and always showing off all the great things that we're able to do here within the Dickinson area. And then in our infrastructure and housing development task force, we sit with all the municipalities on that task force and the county, bankers, realtors, and developers to move housing initiatives forward. As you know, we need more housing through all of the Dickinson area, and we are always putting our heads together, looking at state programs, what can we do to bring more housing to the Dickinson area, and keeping updated on all the infrastructure improvements. In our small business retention and growth task force, we know that our small business community is vital to keep the industry that we have here within the county. So we work on educational opportunities for small business owners, recognizing that they wear a lot of hats and don't have a lot of time or a lot of staff at hand. So we just hosted how small businesses could utilize AI and fraud protection against some of the things that bankers have been seeing, very sneaky, suspicious things that are happening to get people to give up their money. So we just hosted that last week at Bay College for small businesses, and we hope to host another educational opportunity before the end of the year. Last year in 2024, we had an estimated 795 volunteer hours from over 96 individual volunteers within our organization. So those numbers just show me that we have very dedicated people within the Dickinson area that want to continue to see the positive initiatives that we've been pushing forward and the growth that we've been seeing in the last few years here. in the area. So we couldn't do any of this work without those volunteers. And that goes to our city council members and the municipalities as well, showing up for these meetings, showing up for your community, putting those hours in to make sure that we're keeping those initiatives moving forward. We also introduced this year, at the beginning of this year in January, a new campaign called Belong Dickinson, and you can find that at belongdickinson.org. That's really the living and working piece of the Alliance, where we're showing off the Dickinson area, why this is the best place to live, why this is the best place to work, why you should move here and send your kids to our schools. It's a beautiful campaign. Our first season features 3 stories. It is investor funded, so anybody who's an investor of the Alliance can opt in to participate and belong. And our first season featured gal Cindy Trevarthen from Systems Control, Nick and Emily from Marshfield Medical Center Dickinson, and Champion Inc. The name is slipping my mind at the moment, but a story from Champion Inc. and why those folks chose to take jobs here in the Dickinson area, how they found their belonging by participating in different community groups, and why they chose to stay and live here. So we have some interim content running right now that will showcase all the different summer events and things happening within the area. And then season 2 will pick up around August, September. And we'll be featuring stories from Riding Township schools, Trident Maritime Systems, and the Oscar G. Johnson VA Hospital. So very excited about that program. We have all of our information on what we were able to accomplish last year during the leadership transition as Lois retired and I stepped in. You can find that on our website at daeda.org and view our annual report there, which will share all of the things we were able to do last year. So thank you so much for your time. I'm happy to take any questions if you have any questions, or chat with you after the council meeting as well.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming down and letting us know what's going on and the hard work that you guys do to showcase our community.
Absolutely, and I just want you to know too that I am available if there's anything happening here in Norway that I can be of assistance. I've been working with Gina through the DDA on some opportunities with MEDC and some of the stuff you have going on in the downtown, but I'm always happy to come to any meetings or just listen to see what's going on. So please do not hesitate to contact me. My information's at daeda.org, or you can let Dan know and he can get a hold of me, but always happy to attend anything.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Did anybody
Thanks, Minnie.
else have
We'll talk housing sometime.
Yes, absolutely. Always happy to talk housing.
We need housing.
Thank you.
We'll move on to
4, right?
Yep. Number 4, community oriented policing service, COP grant opportunity. Dan?
So this was brought to the police chief and I's attention a couple weeks ago, and we've been discussing bringing it to council, and we're talking budget and being part of that. So what this is, this is a federal grant similar to the school resource officer grant that we received, or the school received a year or so ago. What this is, and I did make an error in my memo of $175,000. It's a 3-year, $125,000 grant spread over that 3-year period. What that would do for us is we would be adding a 6th officer to our rotation. We are currently at 5, including the police chief. We are 1 down since I started here, which was done through a retirement in which I did not rehire purposefully, one to help save money in the general fund and kind of have a discussion of the level of policing we provide. We are currently a 24/7 police force. If we continue down that road, with 5 is difficult. 6 would be more appropriate for that level of policing. So kind of a quick breakdown of what this would mean to this cost the city. I took an average, figured a pay and benefits for a single officer to be around $100,000. Probably a little high, but depending on the type of benefit. A $125,000 over 3 years, a little over $41,000. That would take the cost to the city around $58,000 a year. And then we figure a savings of about $20,000 in overtime costs by having that sixth person. So if we subtract that savings in overtime, we're looking at around $38,000 or $40,000 a year for that sixth officer for that 3-year period. The stipulation of this grant is that you have to keep the person on for a 4th year at minimum, and that is a full cost to the city. So after that, going to that 4th year, we would be on the hook for the entire cost of that pay and benefit package. So we got a hold of this grant late in the game. The deadline to apply, first deadline is June 25th, and the final deadline for submission is July 1st. So if council wished to pursue this grant, we would ask that you decide that tonight so that we can effectively apply for this going forward. If you decide you would like us to pursue this, I would make that change in our general fund upcoming budget and increase that by that 40,000 or so in the budget, which would push our fund equity costs in the general fund. So it would be an increase in general fund even with the reduced rate, but there is a strain on officers at 5 doing 24/7.
We can get that Sunday pay away too.
You know, I've got some ideas on this, but I don't know if this is a night to bring it up.
It's a hard one for me to chime in on because I'm so new, I'm not quite sure how tight that schedule is.
I know they're putting in a lot of overtime. I know they're getting burnt out. I know that they cannot take vacations because they don't have coverage. And if they do cover vacation, they're definitely working a lot of overtime.
Is it time we ask the public about, the citizens about 24/7? Put a referendum on the ballot, actually say, hey, look, if you want 24/7, we need to add a 6th officer and this is what the cost is. Or we go down to 21 hours, like all the rest of the, townships townships are bad, but cities do right now, correct, Dan?
Iron Mountain and Kingsford are 24/7.
They are 24/7, but the sheriff is not, correct?
Correct.
But I
Nor the state police.
There's a lot, in the 24/7 coverage and adding police and covering areas, outside of the city.
Right.
There's a lot to this.
If we get called and nobody's available, we have to go even if it's outside our so-called jurisdiction, correct?
It's not necessarily our jurisdiction, but, they are sworn to protect and serve. And
Sure.
If we're the
you're not
closest
gonna ask
officer.
them
Yeah.
not to respond if they're the closest officer to respond.
Is it a matter of them just responding, or do they need to continue to be the officer on the case?
They would get relieved when the jurisdictional authorities would arrive.
Okay.
But, for this, I know that it's a bit of a time crunch with the deadline of it. Police always have a difficult time with vacation and sick, even with the appropriate person power in those departments. But if we were to continue, 5 is difficult to do.
And if somebody gets sick,
No, I hear you. I'm not against this at all. I'm just saying for future, when this is over, we're on the hook for a year, it sounds like, but I think that gives us 4 years to figure out what we really want to do, because I don't know if we're big enough to do what we're doing right now forever.
Yeah,
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
And
I
general
agree.
fund is it's a tight budget. The general fund is our administrative offices, police, public works, parks, buildings and grounds, the areas we rely on, property tax dollars and shared
Correct.
revenue. So it is a tight fund. We have been gaining ground in it, but this expense adds to what we potentially would have to borrow from our fund balance.
And we're not sure we would get this grant, right?
We are not.
And the other side, guys, is we can always do a referendum with before these 3 years are up even, we could do a referendum and get set for the 4th year when this grant goes away. We could have something in place for that 4th year to move forward with a 6th officer permanently for 24/7, or, you know, we decide after that 4th year, we don't, right?
Yeah.
I-
I don't see a reason why we wouldn't go for the grant.
No, I don't either,
No, me either.
no.
Do I have a motion to apply for the grant?
I make a motion to apply for the community-oriented policing service grant opportunity.
Support,
Mr. Moraro?
yes.
Mrs. Steigerwald?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. Now, I need a motion to go out of regular session and into public hearing, or just to go into public hearing? All right, do I have a motion to go into public hearing?
I motion we go into public hearing.
I support.
Mrs. Steigerwald?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.
We are now in public hearing.
So, this is a public hearing for the 25-26 City of Norway budget. As the mayor announced earlier, we don't plan to approve the budget at this meeting with those resolutions. This is a time for the council and the Norway community to discuss the upcoming fiscal year. We've had public budget workshops since March. We've had about 8 or 9 of those. This is a culmination of that process.
Thank you. Thank you.
At our last budget workshop on Monday, we did kind of an overview of this draft budget, and I did have a couple of things to note that potentially will impact the resolutions at the next meeting. The first was in general fund, and that was the police grant. So with council moving forward with applying for that, I do intend to add that potential cost and revenue to the general fund in case we do receive it. So that will impact what you guys saw at that Monday workshop. On the electric utility, I spoke to Scott Hagee, and the budget we looked at on Monday only had the replace of the head gates in it, and that was $165,000, something we've been doing for the last few years. He wanted the council to review and would prefer approve the full capital budget, which will be talked during the workshops. This is similar to the current fiscal year where we have several grants out there for a few different projects, and we put it all in the budget in case one of those grants came through. The federal efficiency grant for 30% of the guard lock, it looks like if they do unfreeze these grants, we will likely receive it. And then we would be pairing that likely with the WPPI grant at $500,000, which according to Scott Hagee is almost a certain if we have the correct project.
Beautiful.
That would. That guard lock project is about $1 million over several years.
Correct.
In a fiscal year, it's 250, but when you add the 30% and the WPPI, that would reduce that as well. And the PLC grant for 400 is in there. You combine that with the 165 that was already in there, that puts that capital up to 790. So if we move forward with having those possible projects in there, knowing that we'd likely to do all of them, it does make the budget appear that we are borrowing or taking $745,000 from our fund equity, taking it down to 1.3 million opposed to about 2 million.
Right, but we'll have grants and loans to cover that. By the way, just for the public knows, these are things that will drive future revenues for us. So this is not us just throwing Band-Aids or fixes. This is stuff that will increase the efficiency of the dam and
And
drive
it's
revenue.
also stuff, it's dire need to get.
And it's also in dire need, yes.
Need to be fixed.
Safety is a big issue with the guard locks.
Yeah, and a good thing for the electric budget, they don't typically spend all that we budget. Of course, we're not gonna spend the entire 790 on capital projects in this budget, but it's there in case those fiscal grants do come through.
Plus
So-
you gotta put them in the budget for the grant.
Yep.
Yeah, and it helps in that way. If not, we'd have to amend it for when those projects come up.
Correct.
Which, it's a little easier to do in this fashion. So, come approval, you will see the change in that resolution that will bump up the revenues and expenditures, and those revenue bump up is coming from that fund equity to cover those extra expenses. So, there's one other thing in that I'll touch on with the election department at the end. There's two other potential changes in the water and wastewater. So I met with a gentleman from Eagle today. And his area of responsibility is the wastewater and is part of our permitting to operate that facility. This is something that Brock Johnson had discussed before, and that is the staffing level. We have a plan in place that was approved that to operate that facility and that plan is based on our permit to do so. And in that plan, there's a certain number of employees. His estimate and base is we're around 30 hours short of essentially one employee shy to meet that permit requirement to operate our facility. It came across to me as a little bit more of a requirement than a suggestion. So what I did in the wastewater and water fund is I incorporated that entry-level position for a wastewater operator at 80% to the wastewater fund to meet more around that 30 hours, and 20% to the water fund to help that. The good news is in the wastewater fund at 80%, this is an estimate of that salary with benefits, puts an additional $56,800 to the wastewater, and we are in that fund with the some of our rate discussion changes. We are still positive. We do not need to borrow from our fund balance to cover that additional cost. So we still come out ahead, not as much ahead, but we still show a vast improvement in our unrestricted fund balance from $48,000 to $135,000, and that should continue on through the years. So the water fund is not as great by pulling $14,200 from it. However, it increases. We're going to borrow 14 to potentially from our fund balance, but that is also with a $200,000 capital project in here. $73,000.
Very true.
It's coming from our R&I, but it's still a substantial amount for that project, and still only showing borrowing potentially $14,000. And I'm guessing likely we won't have to. We typically stay under that budget. So unexpected, but it is a true need, and we are in a position where we can absorb it if we continue on the track we are in reviewing.
Well, it's a state dictated need, right?
Right, and I was just gonna say, even take away the true need, we're mandated to have it, and then I also, because when we talked in budgets, we talked about having a garbage person, then part-time down there. Them hours do not qualify because the person has to be somebody who is willing to go get the license.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And, the moving the part-time garbage person 2 days a week to DPW, that's also a need there as well.
Yes.
And in both of these situations, it does provide a need at a reduced rate as we were able to spread it out more effectively. So I do plan to incorporate that into the resolutions for next week. Excuse me. So, again, unexpected, but it is a need, especially, again, we had an issue replacing our water person, so we did that internally, and we shifted a lot of things because we couldn't find people, which then took away a little bit from wastewater, which I think has been a positive overall result. We see it in these budgets where we're able to spread out these resources more effectively. So while it is an increase, it's survivable. So,
I'd like to add to that too. It's with the new positions, like me being the director of public works, I'm barely wastewater. So I'm 75% out of the picture. They do the calculation and it comes up, we're short because of that. It's not just a number, it's the maintenance on the system, which is what they recognize we are lacking. The collection system, the flushing, the cleaning of sewers and lift stations, we're taking care of them, we're putting fires out instead of preventing them. And I want to prevent them by having the staff available to clean these lines, clean these sewers, and this is the only way I can. It's been a busy year of putting out fires. I just like to put this to bed and carry on with some qualified, full-time people.
And it has been a positive change with moving Brock in his position and all that, so I certainly wouldn't want him to start going back to focus solely on wastewater with what he's able to do, managing the other departments. And so this may just kind of bring us to our final piece to get the whole unit functioning where it probably should be. So if council has any thoughts on that, or, if you agree with me kind of proceeding to, my plan is to add that to those budgets for the next meeting. Those are only changes that were made. The other communications and the other local streets, major streets, all those ones, no, there was no changes from the workshops and that final review. The one last thing I will bring up, excuse me.
Damn boy, cough drop.
It's more just my voice is fleeting. The Ninth Kingdom project is something we discussed. We have currently $288,000 was rec money allocated to that project. That material cost, as we know, was closer to $480,000. And we had discussed borrowing that from the electric department's fund balance around $200, so we could get materials ordered. And then the hope is we have time then to fundraise to reduce that borrow to maybe $100 from the electric department, and then they get repaid by the rec deal with BP come next spring when we receive about $150,000 for that. The alternative would be push that project, the playground project, to the next summer or fall, and we wait for that third round of rec money that put us closer to 2, 3, around 450, so a little shy of what we intend to fundraise. If we were going to do that with the playground, I would show that expense and revenue in general fund and the additional 200 from fund balance from the electric department.
That's gonna drive that fund balance really close to $1 million.
It will. Again, the anticipation is from the electric, we aren't using it all.
Until things come through, Ken, is what I'm saying.
And then we have to wait for that.
Well, and it would have to come through before we started it anyway.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
So to have that fall build, we have to order material by the end of this month. We do have another council meeting to go. We could kind of have that final decision made then. I would really like to see that project try to get done this fall, so it doesn't fall to the wayside and then things don't happen. That playground is
As long as those
dire.
guard locks start with it, in my opinion.
Yeah, the guard locks, I think, again, we'll almost certain to get that $500,000 from WPPI.
Correct.
That cuts it in half.
And we know it's not gonna get done this year. Nobody's
No,
asking
it's
for it to get
gonna
done
be
this year.
spread
It
out.
ain't get done for probably 3 years.
Yeah,
But I
even-
wanna see it started.
Even if it was approved today, it would be a 3-year project.
Correct.
And it likely wouldn't be able to approve it until we know what's happening with the federal funding, because we can't start that project. If we start it, then we void our potential 30%.
One thing about the 30%, aren't the materials going up? Like, aren't they now 20% higher since we've tried to get that grant?
In the,
Hard to say.
everything
It
continues
probably,
to-
That's what I mean with
inflation has checked some. I saw recently that the numbers have checked up some, which is a good sign, but yeah, it's,
Yeah.
most things are going up.
And you can't just say get it done,
No.
because that's not gonna happen. I
No, all I
know,
said is get it started. I just wanna
Yeah.
see the ball rolling it, yeah.
right, I know that there's feelers already out there. I don't wanna say, towards the park. There is people willing to step forward. I had a few people talk to me. I know Gina's had a few people talk to her. Reach out to her, for donating, so.
Yeah, I think for next council meeting, if we could get, the fundraising tightened up a bit maybe with
Well,
some.
you're probably not gonna get.
I get it. I'm just saying, if we get some plans, at least if they're even preliminary plans on how we're gonna go about fundraising to help,
Yeah, we
right?
have that, and even in there, the company's report, it kind of gives us a guide on fundraising. The smaller donations would be are by a pillar of brick or a fence post, and you
Sure.
engrave, those are your small ones. And then the idea would be to get the larger manufacturers within a county to perhaps either donate in just cash or donate as they pay for a certain part of the structure.
And then their name could go there?
Correct.
Donated by,
Yeah.
or-
And then we would also be searching for in-kind labor, crane operators, things that we would need to complete that.
And I'm sure Mr. Hagy's got everything tightened, just tighten everything up under the WPPI
Yes.
loans and things like that for us, so
Yeah,
for next
that is probably the most guaranteed
May. Yeah,
of it.
no, I feel good about that, yeah.
You know, the borrowing of the 200 from the electric department's fund balance. Again, I hope by the time it gets there, it's really only 100. I would hope to try to get 100,000 in.
I really hope we do.
I know. And
At
then
least.
in spring, we got the 150 that would be repaid for the remaining. So it is all a little tight on when we'd have to order to be able to get that, get that fall.
and for this price, it's only till the end of the month.
The other thing too, is kind of like similar to the electric utility and the projects. We could include this across the board like we discussed, and as Councilman Marrero likes to remind us, nothing is certain in the budget, even when it's a go. So it could be in there and kind of just be in reserve if in fact down the road. Catch to that is, end of June is our deadline.
For that, yeah.
Order. That's the problem.
Well, it'll be nice, I'm glad Mayor Brew pushed the vote on the budget off till we have a full council, and I think that's another thing that we need a full council for as well.
And if you can get me like the plans even electronically so I can see what the final plan is,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
I
Or photocopy that one. Doesn't have to be in color. It's pretty though.
Don't we have a brand new color printer we just got?
Not yet.
They're not yet?
It's a little ways away. But I can scan this and email it to you so you do get the
That
card.
would be great. Thank you.
But that, and unless anyone has, from the members of the public or the council has anything else to discuss on the public hearing for
Yeah,
the
at this
budget?
time, if there's anybody in the public that would like to come up and speak on the budget, you're more than welcome to. No? If not, do I have a motion to go back into regular?
I make a motion to go back into the regular council meeting.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Marrero?
Yes.
Mrs. Steigerwald?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna move on, discussion, mayor, council comments. Ricky, did you have anything?
But I just wanted to thank everybody who volunteered for getting ready for the Memorial Day festivities and everything. The city looked great, the the veteran service there was amazing, as always.
Yes.
I just like to say that, thank you all, my fellow council members, Dan, staff, for getting through this. Every year budgets seem to get tougher and tougher, but I thought this one went pretty good, especially being on a treasurer and some other things that we had faced, and I just want to thank everybody for their hard work, dedication to get through it.
And the hours, eh?
Oh.
How many hours we have?
Yeah, how many hours? Anyways, thank you all.
I guess my comment would be, being that we're talking, that we did talk about the playground we are talking about is Strawberry Lake. And if anybody has been down there lately, they can see that it's not very good. And it's, doesn't look good when you go down there, and it needs to be safer, because we got, it's made out of wood, and, and it's 35 years old, and we really appreciate the people that came together when they put that up 35 years ago. That was a great thing. If we do get the money and the funds and we decide to do this, it will not be wood anymore. It would be something that lasts longer, and we wouldn't have to worry about the wood or repaint, restaining it every year and stuff like that. I guess, I'm kind of on top of this. The Parks and Rec has been working on this, And I just really think it's important. We have a lot of people who come to the community and use that lake. I know years ago, people would have birthday parties, get-togethers, play dates. It is a park that's used quite often, and I know that, you know, a lot of people use it walking around our lake. We have a beautiful trail going around there. So, you know, if anybody has any ideas, wants to volunteer, now I'm starting.
Wants to donate?
Well, I'm getting to that, or would like to donate towards the park, we would really appreciate that. And even, like I said, if it's coming out to volunteer to help us maybe raise some funds in that, because it has to be done. And if we don't do something with it, more than likely, we would just have to remove it. So then we would not have a park there. And I just feel like that would be a shame, because it is used by a lot of children. And like I said, it's nice for parents to go there. It's fenced off too, you know, so the parents don't have to be running after the kids, or, you know, they're in a fenced-in area. It's safer for them. That's all I have to say. So if anybody's willing to come up, volunteer, wants to donate something, the city would really appreciate that. And I think the kids in our community would really appreciate that too, because we did have a company come in and go to the school and have the kids part of this, you know, what they would like to see. So I think this has been a good start to it. And of course, the catch-all is it all costs money. But hopefully we can proceed with this and get that redone so the kids can get back down there and enjoy it. I have nothing else. Grant?
Nothing, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Dan?
Or squeaky?
I'll just piggyback on you a little bit on the playground.
Sorry, Dan.
As the mayor said, you know, it costs money, and this particular playground is a little more expensive than some of your standard playgrounds, and that is because Knights Kingdom has a unique look and a unique feel that you don't see with your standard tubular type playground. And this design is to keep that same essence and that same character is what's there. The company that is working with us on this are all members of the original company that built that in '92. And again, with it comes a little bit of a higher price tag, but it's to keep the character of what started there. And as the mayor said, the school's kids sent in, gotta be 100 or so pictures of what they wanted, and they incorporated a lot of that design. So it's a bit unique, and that's just kind of why it's a little harder to get done. So we do plan to have a whole fundraising campaign, an easy way for people to donate. Obviously, haven't rolled that out yet. So that's all I have.
Anything else? No? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Support. Mrs. Steigerwald?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Moraro?
Yes.